Our button's still kind of boring. I mean, it does this, but we can add more effects. So I'm going to introduce you to what's called a pseudo class. So you go button, and then you do colon, and one pseudo class is hover. Now, what a pseudo class does is it's not a class, okay? But what it does is it can modify a class. So it's almost like I want these properties to apply to a button when my cursor is off of it. But when I put my cursor on it, I want these properties to change. And that's really what a pseudo class does. You could do it with anchors. Okay, so if you design a link, you could have it do different effects when someone's cursor's over it. And hover isn't the only pseudo class, but hover is a very popular pseudo class. Let's take a look at it. If I change the background color to green and reload, so it's yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, green. And I mean, you can pick whatever color you want. But let's go ahead and build a more practical button. So I'm going to leave this is red. Okay, I'm going to change the background color to white. Okay, so it sort of matches, and I'm not going to do green. I am going to change the background color to red, but when I hover over it, I'm going to change the font color, so color, to white. And you may have seen buttons that behave like this. And you can do like any color, but notice how the background color is white, text is red, and then the reverse. And this is very eye-catching if you do it this way. One thing I wanted to do, I changed some colors around to make it more practical, is I added box shadows. So I changed the form background to white for my section 3. So I changed that background color to white, and then I changed the font color to black so you could see, hey, form. And then I added a little bit of shadow right there. And that's done with, you do box shadow. And I mean, you can make the shadow as big as you want, but again, more practically, you kind of want something small, so like 2 pixels. And I did a light gray, so it does actually look like a shadow and it's popping off the page. So I have its initial effect right here. So I have its styling here. When I put my cursor over it, it changes. But let's do something where after I click it, it does something. It's not going to go anywhere. We're not talking about it going anywhere or anything like that. It's more just after you click it, there's a separate style. So to do this, I'm going to create another pseudo class, and it's called active. So I go dot btn, and I call it active. And I'm going to set the color to something different. So I'm going to go background, color, and I'll do green. Something obnoxious. So this next part, and we can get into transformations and stuff later, but just for the button itself, you're going to do the transform property, and you want it to translate Y. Now, if you've done any graphing in algebra, you have, a number line that goes straight across this way, and then you have an up and down that goes this way. So the row, that's the x-axis. And if you go down, that is the y-axis. And I'm going to exaggerate it so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to give it 40 pixels. But you want to go transform, translate y, and then 40 pixels like that. And we reload. And so I'm hovering over it when I click it. Let's see. Should be a little bit more exaggerated. It's not really, well, 1 second. Let's see. Let me reload. Yeah, the reload worked. See how it moves? So let's not do 40 pixels. Let's do something slight, like 4. And it's going to move down. And when I'm clicking it, it turns green and it moves. And then there you go. So these are just some button stylings. If you were to Google, CSS button stylings, there's a whole lot more you can do with buttons. And again, I wanted to introduce you to what are called pseudo classes. So a pretty popular one is hover, and you can do that with links, and then active, and you can do this with like anchor tags. And remember, in HTML, your anchor tags, don't do this in the CSS. The href equals quote, put in the URL, link. So this would go in your HTML, and all you'd really have to do is just add a class. I would always add a class because you can style things, different ways. You may want to style different links on your site in different ways, and you can just call this one like link. And then the pseudo class, if you wanted to do link, would be dot link colon hover, and then all your properties, or dot link colon active, however you wanted to do it. And there you go.